Hi, fifth graders. Today we are going to do an art project with clay. What is a sculpture? The action or art of processing, as by carving, modeling, or welding, plastic or hard materials into works of art. Work produced by sculpture, or a three-dimensional work of art, such as a statue. Sculptors throughout history have made 3D works out of stone and marble, metals like iron and copper, wood, and other materials like sand, clay, and glass. The oldest known zoomorphic, or animal-shaped, sculpture in the world is the Lion Man, which was found in Germany in 1939. It is carved of ivory and has been carbon dated to between 35,000 and 40,000 years old. Sculpture has been an important way to understand culture and society. Josefina Aguilar is a Mexican folk artist from Oaxaca who is best known for her small clay figurines called muñecas. Aguilar creates depictions of everyday village activities, religious and folkloric scenes, famous figures, and special Day of the Dead statues. Her work can be seen at the Museum of International Folk Art in Santa Fe, the San Antonio Museum of Art, and the Mexican Museum in San Francisco. Aguilar uses red clay, which her family digs from a clay pit in a field outside the town she lives in. She was mentored by her mother and began learning her craft at the age of 6. In 2014, she became blind and now creates her art using touch. She says, "It's not the eyes, it's the hand and brain." We will be making a tropical fish sculpture today. Here is an example. You will need a small cup of water. I'm using a clean yogurt container. If your work surface is wood, you will want to place something on the surface to protect it. An old piece of fabric like I have here, some cardboard, or even some paper will work. You will also need the bag marked clay that you picked up from school. Inside the bag, you will find a ball of clay, a skewer, a craft stick, a paintbrush, and 3 paint pots. Set aside the paint and paintbrush. You will use those another day. We will be using air-dry clay since we are not at school. This means we will not be firing it in the kiln. Instead, it will harden and dry in the air at your house. Remove the ball of clay from the plastic bag. Break off 1/3 of the clay. We will use this to create the base for our fish. Roll the clay into a circle and then press it on a flat surface to form the bottom. Don't flatten the entire piece of clay because we need a good amount of clay to hold the weight of our fish. Set that to the side. Now we are going to break our clay ball in 2 again. Think about the fish you would like to create as well as the decorations for both the fish and the sea floor. I used clay for the eyes, tail, fins, the seaweed, and the starfish. So you'll want to make sure you have enough extra clay to do those pieces. I'm going to use a little less than half of my remaining clay to form the body of my fish. I'm going to make a ball, and I'm going to use the flat of my hands to flatten it into a circle. Remember, we're going to have the stick going up into the fish and into the base. So make sure it's not too thin, so you do have plenty of space for that to go up in there. Next, I'm going to use my skewer and my popsicle stick to etch the designs or texture on my fish, as well as making the mouth. Since we're making a sculpture, we need to remember to add the designs to both sides. People should be able to view our fish from all angles. Now I'm going to take some of the clay and shape it into another bowl. I'm going to press it flat with the ball of my hand. And I'm going to use the skewer to cut it in half. The first half will be the tail. I'm going to give it the shape that I'd like. I'm going to add texture at this time as well. To attach the tail, use your skewer to make hash marks on the areas where you will be joining the clay. Dip your finger in the water and dab it gently on the clay. Gently press the two pieces together, being careful not to disrupt your design. If it doesn't feel like it's going to stick, you can also use your skewer to gently make little marks along the seam. Dip your finger, smooth them out to help make that glue to join them. The other part of your circle will be the fins. You can do just a top fin or a top and bottom, keeping in mind the stick will be going into the bottom, so make sure you leave room for that. Use the rest of your clay to pinch off a small bit and make the eyes. Attach the eyes the same way as the tail and fin. I'm going to use the end of my skewer to make the pupil. Flip it over and repeat on the other side. Lastly, you can bend your fish just a bit so it looks like it's in motion. Use the remaining clay to make additional details for the base. I chose here to make some seaweed. I like how the stick blends in with it. When I paint it, I can make it match. I also chose to make a starfish. Be creative and have fun forming these elements. have all the pieces, it's time to put them together. Gently push the popsicle stick into your fish about 3/4 of an inch. Now press the stick into your base. Do not rock it, just press it straight down. If you see a space between the stick and the clay, press the base clay around the stick. You need it to be very sturdy. Now join the additional elements to the clay base using the same hash mark and water technique we used earlier. Once you have completed your fish, be sure to set it somewhere safe to dry. A wooden surface is not the best choice because the moisture could damage the wood. It will take at least a week for your clay to dry. If any pieces of your fish fall off, don't worry. You can always glue them together after they finish drying. On this sample, my starfish did not stay on during the drying process, so I waited till they were dry, and with a little glue, it's now on tight. Hope you have a wonderful time creating your clay fish.